The wind howled through the broken slats of the porch as Jack Harris tightened his grip on the thermos, sipping lukewarm coffee that tasted more like rust than roast. Outside, a curtain of gray clouds threatened another snowstorm. Inside the trailer, the floor creaked under his boots as he moved through the small kitchen, careful not to wake his daughter. Jack was in his early 40s, his face weathered not just by time but by years of hard luck. Lines carved deep at the corners of his eyes, not from laughter, but from squinting against windshields smeared with oil and regret. Once a full-time mechanic, he'd been laid off when the town's last garage shuttered. Since then, he scraped together work, fixing fences, jump-starting dead engines, clearing snow, whatever someone needed. He paused at the door of the back room. Through the crack, he saw Emma, 10 years old, curled under layers of mismatched blankets. Her brown curls poked out from a knit cap, and her little hand clutched the stuffed rabbit he'd patched up with duct tape. She didn't know about the eviction notice folded inside his toolbox. She didn't need to. "Stay warm, kiddo," he whispered, stepping outside into the cold. The trailer park was silent under a crust of snow, its rows of tin roofs sagging like tired shoulders. Jack brushed frost off the windshield of his beat-up Chevy and climbed in. The engine coughed awake on the third try. His phone buzzed, a text from Mrs. Phelps across town. Her space heater was out again. Jack's breath clouded in the air as he muttered, "Let's go save the day." By noon, he'd shoveled 2 driveways, replaced a heater fuse, and managed to sell a pair of old snow tires from his shed. It wasn't enough. Never quite was. But Jack didn't complain. He was a man who measured wealth in safe nights and full bellies, not bank accounts. At the gas station, he used his last $10 to top off the tank. As he unscrewed the cap, Emma's voice echoed in his mind from the night before. Daddy, do you think if I learn how to fix cars too, we could have our own garage someday? He smiled barely. "One day, sweetheart," he'd told her. The clouds above darkened. Snow flurries swirled around him like whispers. A storm was coming fast. Jack climbed back in, headed home before the roads got worse. What he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that fate had already begun to turn its gears. By morning, everything would be different. But for now, Jack drove through the early hush of falling snow, unaware that the smallest choice, made on the loneliest road, would echo farther than he could imagine. The snow came faster than the radio had warned. By late afternoon, visibility had collapsed to barely a few feet, and Jack's wipers thudded in a losing battle against the sleet. He was heading home, fingers numb even through his work gloves, when a flicker of orange blinked through the white curtain ahead. Hazard lights. Most folks would have driven past. Most probably had. But Jack slowed, squinting through the flurries. A sleek black sedan, foreign and low to the ground, sat awkwardly by the shoulder, its hood propped open like a flag of distress. A man in a long coat stood beside it, pacing, phone pressed uselessly to his ear. Jack rolled down his window. "Trouble?" The man turned, startled. His coat was fine wool, tailored. "Definitely not local." "Yes. Engine's dead. My phone has no signal. I'm not from around here." Jack pulled over and climbed out, the cold cutting through his parka like glass. "Let me take a look." Without waiting, he popped open his toolbox from the truck bed. The snow stung his face as he leaned under the hood, flashlight clenched between his teeth. The engine compartment was pristine but flooded, oil leak near the intake. No wonder it died. He worked methodically, fingers stiff, sleeves soaked. He used zip ties, a worn-out wrench, even a strip of his own glove to create a temporary seal. Then, he funneled in the last of his spare oil and siphoned gas from his own tank into the sedans. An hour passed. The man paced nervously, offering apologies, promises of compensation. Jack said little, focused on the job. Finally, the engine sputtered, coughed, and turned over. "There you go," Jack muttered, stepping back, chest heaving steam into the wind. The man blinked. You fixed it?" "In this storm." Jack nodded, closing the hood. She'll get you to town. Don't go above 30. The man reached into his coat and pulled out a money clip. Please. Take something. Jack shook his head. No need. Just don't let it idle in weather like this again. He turned to leave. Wait, the man called. What's your name? Jack paused. Jack Harris. He tipped his head. Take care. As he drove away, the storm thickened. The heater groaned in protest, barely keeping the windshield clear. His hands trembled from the cold, but inside, a quiet warmth bloomed. He didn't help for recognition. Never had. Back home, Emma greeted him with a blanket and a mug of instant cocoa. You okay, Daddy? He smiled tiredly. Yeah, pumpkin. Just helped someone stuck in the snow. She hugged him tight. You're like a superhero. Jack laughed once low. Not quite. Outside, the snow kept falling. And far down the road, a stranger watched the red taillights disappear, eyes narrowed, not in judgment but in something else. Something he hadn't felt in years. Gratitude. The next morning arrived unnaturally still. The blizzard had passed, leaving behind a world glazed in white silence. Frost crept up the trailer windows like vines, and Jack stirred awake to the distant rumble of engines, low, powerful, and unfamiliar. He rubbed his eyes, pulled on his parka, and opened the door. What he saw stopped him cold. 5 luxury Rolls-Royce cars, all gleaming black and silver, were lined up like a presidential escort outside his sagging trailer. Their polished chrome reflected the morning sun in blinding streak. Snow crunched under their tires as they came to a precise stop, side by side. Jack stepped onto the porch, boots crunching ice. His breath came out in clouds. He glanced around the park. Curtains twitched in neighbors' windows, mouths agape behind glass. From the lead car, a chauffeur in a crisp charcoal suit stepped out, posture straight, gloved hands holding a single cream-colored envelope. No words, just a nod of respect as he approached. You Jack Harris? The man asked, his voice smooth, rehearsed. Jack hesitated. Yeah, that's me. The chauffeur extended the envelope and stepped back. Inside, Jack found a handwritten note on thick stationery. The ink flowed with precision. Asterisk Jack. People like you are rare. You didn't just fix my car. You reminded me that there are still those who give without asking. Consider this a thank you, and the beginning of something greater. Asterisk. Beneath the note was a business card. Victor Langston, founder and CEO, Langston Automotive International. Jack's brow furrowed. The name rang a faint bell. Something from a documentary about classic car restoration, high-end garages in Europe, 7-figure builds. Emma appeared behind him, still in pajamas, clutching her bunny. Daddy, are they here for us? Jack looked at her, then at the waiting cars. I don't know, he admitted. The chauffeur cleared his throat gently. Mr. Langston invites you to tour our new restoration facility in Willow Falls. We believe your skills may be of great value. There's also a temporary residence prepared for you and your daughter, should you choose to accept. Jack blinked, the cold forgotten. He wanted to laugh, maybe cry, maybe slam the door and pretend he hadn't just stepped into a dream. But Emma slid her hand into his, eyes wide with wonder. Is this real, Daddy? He knelt to her level and brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. I think something good's finally caught up to us. The chauffeur gave a small smile. We'll wait. Jack stood, the envelope still in hand, heartbeat loud in his ears. He hadn't asked for any of this, but maybe, for the first time in years, it was okay to say yes. 3 weeks later, the rhythm of Jack's life had changed, but his nature had not. The new job at Langston Automotive's restoration facility was unlike anything he'd imagined. Polished floors, gleaming toolkits, and rows of rare vehicles. Bugattis, Bentleys, old race cars with histories longer than some countries. Jack had stepped into a world where craftsmanship was worshipped, and yet, to everyone's surprise, he belonged there. They didn't hire him for his resume, they hired him for his hands. For his quiet precision. for the way he could listen to an engine like it was speaking its own language. But what Jack valued most was the modest brick home Langston had arranged for him and Emma just outside town. It had a fenced yard, a warm fireplace, and a real garage of his own. On weekends, he taught Emma how to identify tools and change oil. She was a quick learner, curious, fearless. He never pushed. She wanted to be there, beside him, just as much as he wanted her to be. One evening, after dinner, Jack sat on the porch with a cup of real coffee. No rust, no aftertaste. Emma curled beside him in a blanket, gazing up at the stars. "Do you miss the trailer?" she asked softly. Jack took a long breath. "No," he said, "but I don't regret it either. It taught us how to be strong." She nodded like she understood, her small face thoughtful. "Do you think that man would have helped us if we were stuck in the snow?" Jack looked out at the dark horizon. "I don't know. But that's not why I helped him." Emma leaned her head on his arm. "I know." Inside the house, the phone rang. It was Victor Langston, again thanking Jack for his humility and inviting him to lead a new program teaching underprivileged teens basic mechanic skills. Jack agreed before the call ended. Not for prestige, not for praise, but because he understood what it felt like to be overlooked, to grow up thinking opportunity only knocked on richer doors. Later that week, as Jack rolled open the garage at work, one of the senior engineers walked by and paused. "Funny thing," he said, adjusting his glasses, "Langston told us you were the only guy who didn't ask for anything, and yet you've earned more than most ever will." Jack just smiled. "I didn't do anything special. I just stopped when no one else would." The man laughed. "Exactly." Back home, Emma taped a piece of paper to the fridge. It read, in shaky handwriting, *, Our garage, Jack and Emma Harris, Mechanics of Hope. *. Jack stared at it, heart full. Sometimes, the road to everything you need starts with helping someone who has nothing to give, except the chance to change your life forever.